Let me take you inside your body for just a moment. Deep within your legs, those muscles that carry you every day, that help you move, stand tall, climb stairs, chase your dreams. There's a powerful, silent system at work. It's called your circulation, and every beat of your heart sends an poor leg strength often starts with impaired blood flow caused by dietary inflammation. Most people think their legs feel weak because they're not working out enough, or because they're getting older, or because they sit too long. While those factors play a role, the root cause of weakening legs, especially when it happens gradually and without a clear injury, often lies deep within the blood vessels that supply those muscles. Your legs are powered by a complex network of arteries, veins, and capillaries, all working together to deliver oxygen, nutrients, and support to your muscle fibers. When blood flows freely, those muscles are energized and functional. But when inflammation begins to disrupt that flow, everything changes. The supply chain is broken. Oxygen can't reach the tissues as efficiently. Waste builds up, and slowly strength declines. Dietary inflammation is one of the most overlooked threats to muscular health. It doesn't just affect your gut or your weight. It directly targets your vascular system, the pipes, if you will, that deliver life to your legs. When you consume foods that are known to trigger inflammation, like processed sugars, refined carbs, and industrial seed oils, your immune system goes into overdrive. It starts releasing compounds called cytokines, which are messengers that signal inflammation in the body. At first, you may feel nothing. You don't see inflammation like you see a bruise. But under the surface, these cytokines are damaging the endothelium, the thin, delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. They make your arteries stiffer, narrower, and less able to expand and contract. They make your capillaries less flexible and your blood more sluggish. Now, think about your lead muscles for a moment. They're some of the largest, most demanding muscles in your entire body. Your quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, all of them need a constant, uninterrupted flow of blood to function optimally. Without it, they start to fatigue more quickly. You might notice that you can't climb stairs as easily, that your legs feel heavy after a walk, that standing for long periods wears you out. This isn't just aging, it's a sign that your microcirculation is under stress, and it often traces back to what's on your plate. The problem is compounded by a lifestyle that rewards quick meals, sugary snacks, and ultra-processed convenience. Over time, the daily exposure to inflammatory foods starts to chip away at your vascular integrity. Blood vessels in the legs are particularly vulnerable because of gravity. Blood has to be pumped down and back up with force. If inflammation is slowing down the process, circulation becomes compromised, legs begin to swell, muscles become sore, performance declines. And this process doesn't happen overnight. It's years in the making. You could be walking around with decent strength today, but silently losing power each month because your blood flow is deteriorating due to inflammation from food choices you've made for years. Research continues to show that the health of your vascular system is directly tied to the strength of your limbs. In fact, studies in older adults have shown that those with the poorest circulation tend to have the weakest leg strength, the slowest gait speed, and the highest risk of falls. But even in younger people, poor dietary habits can lead to early vascular aging. That means your arteries and veins are behaving like those of someone 10 or 20 years older. And when your blood vessels age, your muscles pay the price. They get less fuel, recover from strain, they can't repair microtears. Over time, you start to see visible changes in your strength, balance, and coordination, often without realizing why. This is why inflammation must be seen as more than just a buzzword. It is not something happening only in people with autoimmune conditions or chronic disease. It is a silent factor that chips away at your muscle performance every time you consume foods that trigger it. Every sugary drink, every deep-fried snack, every artificial additive is contributing to a tiny shift in your body's inflammatory load. And while one snack won't destroy your legs, the cumulative effect over months and years is profound. It gradually disables the mechanisms your body relies on to keep your legs strong and functional. What makes this issue even more serious is that many people feel the symptoms of leg weakness but never connect it to food. And they may go to the doctor and hear that everything looks normal. But functional weakness is not always about disease. It's about performance. If the blood supply is not optimized, performance declines. And it's food that often controls the health of that supply chain, not exercise alone, not supplements alone, but food, the daily choices that determine whether your blood vessels are inflamed and sluggish or clear and thriving. And once those vessels become compromised, even the best workouts can't overcome poor circulation. The muscles can't be trained if they aren't being fed. They can't be strengthened if they're being starved of oxygen due to restricted blood flow caused by ongoing low-grade inflammation from diet, nutrient-rich blood flowing into the tiniest vessels of your lower body. Nourishing your muscles, processed sugars directly damage blood vessels, reducing oxygen delivery to leg muscles. Every time you consume food or beverage high in refined sugar, you set off a chain reaction in your body that goes far beyond a simple spike in blood glucose. What's really happening is a biochemical assault on the delicate network of arteries and capillaries responsible for nourishing your legs. These vessels are like highways for oxygen and nutrients. They deliver everything your leg muscles need to mobilize, balance, and support your entire body. But when processed sugars enter your bloodstream in excess, they don't just give you a burst of energy. They cause structural damage to those critical pathways. One of the primary ways this happens is through a process called glycation. When sugar molecules circulate in your blood at high levels, they start attaching to proteins and fats in your tissues. This reaction forms harmful compounds known as advocation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs stiffen your blood vessels, reduce their flexibility, and make it harder for them to dilate properly. When vessels can't expand, they can't carry enough blood to the needs of your working muscles. So when you're walking, running, climbing stairs, or even just standing up, your muscles aren't getting the oxygen they require to function optimally. That's when fatigue sets in, that you start to feel the heaviness. That's when your legs begin to weaken over time without any clear explanation. Another critical factor is the inflammatory response triggered by sugar. Processed sugar isn't just metabolized, it's flagged by the immune system as a threat when consumed in excess. Your body sees it as a signal of imbalance, and in response releases inflammatory chemicals that target the endothelium, the thin lining of your blood vessels. This inflammation narrows the arteries, disrupts blood flow, and creates a hostile environment for muscle tissue. In particular, the legs suffer because they rely on a high volume of blood to perform the most basic daily functions. When the vessels are inflamed and narrowed, blood can't flow easily to those large muscle groups. Over time, this chronic undernourishment leads to gradual muscle deterioration. Insulin resistance also plays a role here. The more processed sugar you eat, the harder your pancreas has to work to produce insulin and manage blood sugar levels. Eventually, the cells in your body become less responsive to insulin, a condition known as insulin resistance. This is a hallmark of metabolic dysfunction, and it severely impacts circulation. Insulin resistance damages the vascular system, particularly in the extremities. That means less blood to your legs, reduced nutrient absorption, and less efficient muscle performance. You may still be active, you may still exercise, but if your blood vessels are compromised from years of high sugar consumption, your muscles won't receive the full benefit. They're essentially trying to operate underpowered, and that's a recipe for slow but steady weakness. Processed sugars also interfere with nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is a molecule that helps your blood vessels re-X and expand. It's essential for good circulation, especially during movement and physical activity. But sugar suppresses nitric oxide availability, making your arteries more rigid and less responsive. With reduced nitric oxide, your body's ability to increase blood flow to your legs when they need it most is diminished. This results in reduced endurance, slower recovery, and less power in your stride. You may notice your legs cramping more often, feeling tight, or tiring out faster than they used to. That's not just fatigue, it's a signal that your vascular health is deteriorating under the strain of excess sugar. Mitochondrial function is also impaired by high sugar intake. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of your cells, and they convert nutrients into energy. In your leg muscles, these tiny engines are responsible for helping you walk, lift, run, and stabilize your body. But sugar disrupts mitochondrial efficiency. It floods the cells with too much fuel too quickly, which leads to oxidative stress. This stress damages the mitochondria, reduces energy production, and accelerates muscle fatigue. When your leg muscles are operating with impaired mitochondria, they lose stamina and become more prone to injury and dysfunction. And this can all happen silently, long before you're diagnosed with diabetes or any formal disease. The damage starts early, and it starts with the foods you choose every day. Even your muscle fibers themselves begin to change in response to high sugar diets. Excess sugar intake has been shown to increase intramuscular fat deposition. That means fat begins to infiltrate the muscles of your legs, not just your waistline. This reduces muscle density, makes your legs weaker, and increases the risk of insulin resistance in the muscles themselves. You may look fine on the outside, but on the inside, your muscle tissue is becoming less functional, less coordinated, less powerful. All because the sugar you consume is altering the internal environment of your muscles at the cellular level. The effect of sugar on hydration shouldn't be overlooked either. Processed sugars increase your risk of dehydration by forcing your kidneys to work harder to flush out the excess glucose. Dehydrated muscles are stiff, less elastic, and more prone to cramping. In your leg, this means less mobility and a higher risk of injury. Weak legs aren't just a symptom, they're a warning sign that the basic systems supporting your body's foundation are under siege. And when sugar continues to interfere with vascular function, cellular energy, muscle integrity, and hydration, the decline in leg strength becomes inevitable. Trans fats sabotage muscle function by promoting chronic inflammation in lower extremities. These artificially created fats, commonly found in margarine, baked goods, fast foods, and packaged snacks, are not just passive components in your diet, they are active disruptors of cellular health. When consumed regularly, trans fats initiate a cascade of physiological responses that work against your body's ability to maintain strength, especially in your legs. Your legs carry your body, stabilize your posture, and absorb the impact of daily movement, so any assault on the integrity of the muscles, nerves, or circulation in that region has wide-reaching consequences. Trans fats undermine all three of these systems at once, creating an environment in your lower body that weakens, inflames, and deteriorates over time. At the cellular level, trans fats alter the composition of your cell membranes. Healthy fats like omega-3s and monounsaturated fats allow your cells to remain flexible and responsive, supporting proper nutrient exchange and signaling. But when trans fats are incorporated into the membrane, they stiffen the structure and impair its function. This disruption compromises how well your muscle cells receive glucose and oxygen, two of the most critical components for muscle contraction and endurance. Your leg muscles are particularly sensitive to this change because of their size and constant usage. When these cells can't perform efficiently, it translates into reduced stamina, slower response time, and a noticeable decline in power and balance. One of the more dangerous effects of trans fats is how they promote low-grade systemic inflammation. This isn't the type of inflammation you can see or feel right away. It builds slowly and silently, but its impact is profound. Trans fats activate pro-inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers that trigger an immune response even when there's no real threat present. Over time, this chronic activation of the immune system starts to wear down tissues. Blood vessels become irritated and narrow, capillaries become less efficient, muscle fibers begin to break down more easily. The constant state of inflammation places a burden on your body's repair mechanisms, meaning that even small micro tears in your muscles, something that normally happens during exercise and gets repaired, may heal more slowly or improperly. This ongoing inflammation particularly affects the vascular network that supports your lower extremities. The artery veins that carry blood to and from your legs are long and heavily dependent on elasticity to function properly. When trans fats contribute to vessel stiffness and inflammation, it impairs circulation. Poor circulation will lead to a deficit in oxygen and nutrient delivery. Muscles that are undernourished become prone to cramping, fatigue, and atrophy. People often associate leg weakness with inactivity or aging, but in many cases, it's the result of vascular dysfunction rooted in years of consuming trans fat-laden foods. The signs show up gradually: slower walking speed, reduced stair climbing ability, more frequent leg pain, but the cause has often been in motion for years. Trans fats also impact insulin sensitivity. When the body becomes resistant to insulin due to long-term poor dietary choices, glucose cannot efficiently enter the muscle cells. This insulin resistance leads to elevated blood sugar levels, which further contributes to vascular damage and inflammation. Muscles in the legs require steady glucose uptake for strength and energy. If that pathway is impaired, the muscles are essentially starved even if the bloodstream is full of nutrients. Over time, the legs become weak from lack of food, but from the inability to absorb and utilize it. Another insidious way trans fats sabotage muscle function is by interfering with mitochondrial performance. Mitochondria are responsible for producing the energy your muscles need to contract and move. Trans fats reduce mitochondrial efficiency, meaning less energy is available to power your movements. In your legs, this shows up as early fatigue, decreased endurance, and slower recovery after activity. You might notice you tire more quickly when walking, or that your legs feel heavy even when doing light physical activity. The root cause isn't just muscular, it's cellular. The engines that are supposed to fuel your muscles have been compromised. The presence of trans fats in your diet also leads to an increase in visceral fat, fat stored around the organs. This not only increases systemic inflammation, but also physically burdens your musculoskeletal system. Excess body weight, especially around the abdomen, changes the mechanics of walking and standing. This altered posture places additional strain on the leg muscles and joints, further accelerating fatigue and reducing strength. Many people attribute their leg weakness to being overweight, not realizing that it's the trans fats contributing to both the weight gain and the inflammation that's causing the discomfort. Even nerve function is impaired by trans fats. The peripheral nerves that communicate with the muscles in your legs can become less responsive due to the oxidative stress and inflammation trans fats create. This may lead to sensations of numbness, tingling, or reduced coordination, further contributing to functional weakness and increased risk of falls or injury. The connection between your brain and your muscles must remain sharp for you to maintain leg strength. Anything that dulls that signal, like the presence of neurotoxic trans fats, erodes the system from both ends. The combination of reduced circulation, impaired energy production, altered nerve signaling, and chronic inflammation creates a perfect storm for muscle degradation in the legs. When you look at populations with high trans fat consumption over time, you find significantly higher rates of cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, and mobility issues. And while much attention is paid to the heart and brain, the legs are just as affected, often earlier and more visibly. Yet many people don't connect their weakening legs to their dietary habits because the damage happens quiet in background until the symptoms become too loud to ignore. Declining leg strength is an early warning sign of metabolic dysfunction fueled by poor food choices. While it's common to associate leg weakness with aging, inactivity, or injury, what's often overlooked is the direct connection between muscle performance and the body's metabolic health. The legs are home to some of the largest and most metabolically active muscles in the body. They play a vital role not just in movement, but in regulating blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, and overall energy balance. When these muscles start to weaken without any clear cause, it's rarely just about physical wear and tear. It's often a signal that something deeper is happening within the body's internal systems, and in many cases, that signal is being triggered by daily food choices that disrupt metabolic processes. Metabolic dysfunction begins quietly. It starts with the body struggling to manage blood glucose levels effectively. After meals rich in refined carbohydrates, sugary beverages, and processed ingredients, the pancreas releases insulin to shuttle glucose into the cells. But over time, with repeated exposure to these kinds of foods, the cells begin to ignore the insulin signal. This condition, known as insulin resistance, is one of the earliest stages of metabolic imbalance. When cells, particularly in the muscles, stop responding to insulin, glucose remains in the bloodstream instead of being used for energy. The body is flooded with energy it cannot access, and the result is fatigue, inflammation, and tissue degradation, particularly in the legs where energy demand is high. Muscles in the legs require a steady influx of fuel in order to maintain strength and mobility. But when glucose cannot properly enter these cells, the muscles begin to operate in a state of deficiency. They cannot contract with the same power, they cannot endure the same level of effort, and they recover more slowly. Even simple tasks like standing up from a chair, walking for long distances, or climbing stairs can start to feel harder. Most people attribute this to age or lifestyle changes, but the deeper reality is that their food choices have been slowly altering the hormonal and cellular environment of their muscles for years. One of the key effects of poor diet on metabolic function is systemic inflammation. Highly processed foods rich in added sugars, unhealthy fats, and artificial additives trigger an immune response in the body. The immune system, sensing that something is off, begins releasing inflammatory chemicals to address what it interprets as a threat. This inflammation doesn't stay localized, it spreads through the bloodstream, impacting blood vessels, organs, and tissues. The blood vessels that support the legs, which are already working hard against gravity to maintain circulation, become narrowed and less flexible. This impairs blood flow to the leg muscles, making it harder for them to receive oxygen and nutrients. Without adequate circulation, muscle tissue breaks down more easily, heals more slowly, and loses strength over time. Fatty liver is another early marker of metabolic dysfunction, and it too plays a role in leg strength. The liver is responsible for managing many of the body's metabolic processes, including filtering toxins and managing energy storage. When the liver becomes fatty due to a diet high in refined sugars and processed foods, its ability to regulate glucose and fat metabolism is compromised. This dysfunction ripples throughout the body. Muscles start storing more intramuscular fat, which reduces their density and functionality. The legs, being large muscle groups, show the consequences first. They become less toned, more fatigued, and structurally weaker. What appears on the outside as simple muscle loss is often a reflection of internal metabolic chaos. Another sign of declining metabolic health is mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria are the energy factories of the cell, converting nutrients into usable energy. Poor nutrition damages these cellular engines. When they become sluggish or dysfunctional, energy production drops, especially in high-demand areas like the legs. With less energy available, physical performance declines. This is why people with early metabolic issues often report feeling tired after doing things that never used to bother them. The legs simply don't have the power reserves they once did because the cells that used to produce abundant energy are now operating inefficiently due to long-term dietary stress. Nutrient deficiencies also begin to emerge with metabolic dysfunction. Diets that are calorie-dense but poor lead to gaps in essential vitamins and minerals like magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins, all critical for muscle function and nerve signaling. Without adequate nutrients, the leg muscles become more prone to cramps, spasms, and chronic fatigue. The nervous system, which communicates movement instructions from the brain to the legs, also starts to falter under nutrient-deprived conditions. Slower nerve conduction and impaired reflexes make movements less coordinated and less powerful, increasing the risk of imbalance or injury. Even hormonal health is disrupted by poor food choices, and this too impacts leg strength. Elevated insulin levels, disrupted cortisol patterns, and imbalanced thyroid hormones, all driven by chronic poor diet, alter the body's ability to build and maintain lean muscle. Testosterone, a hormone vital for muscle synthesis in both men and women, you can become suppressed due to metabolic dysfunction. As hormone levels shift, the body becomes less efficient at maintaining muscle mass, especially in the legs, which rely heavily on anabolic signaling to stay strong and functional. The feedback loop becomes vicious. Weaker legs lead to less physical activity, which further worsens insulin resistance and inflammation. Reduced movement also limits calorie expenditure, promoting weight gain and placing more strain on already compromised muscles. Over time, this spiral results in reduced mobility, increased pain, and diminished quality of life. And yet, it all may have started not with a traumatic injury or a diagnosed disease, but with the slow, consistent intake of foods that disrupted the body's natural balance. Nutrient-rich foods can activate your body's natural regeneration and muscle repair systems. Every bite you take some message to your body, and when that message is rich in essential vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and healthy fats, the body responds with healing, growth, and strength. Your muscles are not passive tissues that grow only with exercise. They are living, responsive systems that depend on constant biochemical signals to function at their best. These signals are largely influenced by what you eat, and when you choose nutrient-dense foods, you unlock body's natural ability to rebuild and regenerate tissue, especially in the lower extremities where the demands of movement, posture, and balance are highest. The leg muscles are particularly responsive to the regenerative properties of food because they are in constant use. From walking and climbing to simply standing and balancing, these muscles require a steady stream of energy, structural proteins, and micronutrients to stay strong. When they are deprived of these resources, whether due to poor diet or nutrient deficiencies, they begin to weaken and lose mass. But when given the right fuel, they do the opposite. They recover, rebuild, and grow more resilient. The key is not just the presence of calories, but the equality of those calories and the bioavailability of the nutrients they carry. Proteins, especially those rich in essential amino acids like leucine, are critical for muscle repair and regeneration. Foods like wild-caught fish, legumes, and lean meats provide the building blocks for new muscle tissue, but it's not just about protein quantity. It's about timing and synergy. When protein is consumed with foods rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds such as leafy greens, berries, nuts, and seeds, the body is better equipped to absorb and utilize those amino acids. Inflammation in the muscle tissue is reduced, oxidative stress is minimized, and the environment becomes more conducive to repair and growth. This is particularly important for the legs, where micro tears from daily use are common and require ongoing support to maintain strength and function. Magnesium, zinc, and potassium are essential minerals that play direct roles in muscle contraction, nerve transmission, and hydration. Magnesium helps regulate neuromuscular signals and prevents cramps and spasms, while potassium balances fluids and supports muscle energy metabolism. Zinc is a key player in tissue regeneration and immune response. These minerals are found abundantly in nutrient-dense foods such as avocados, bananas, spinach, pumpkin seeds, and quinoa. When these foods are included consistently in the diet, they support not only short-term muscle performance, but also long-term muscle maintenance and repair. Omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, as well as in flax seeds and walnuts, are another crucial element in the body's muscle-supporting toolkit. These healthy fats reduce inflammation and improve circulation, allowing more oxygen and nutrients to reach the leg muscles. They also enhance the sensitivity of muscle cells to insulin, improving glucose uptake and energy production. For individuals with declining leg strength due to metabolic dysfunction, incorporating omega-3 rich foods can significantly improve the cellular environment, making muscles more efficient and more responsive to signals for growth and repair. Vitamin D and calcium are known for their role in bone health, but they are equally important for muscle strength. Vitamin D facilitates the absorption of calcium and plays a direct role in muscle fiber function. Without adequate vitamin D, muscle contractions can become weak and uncoordinated, particularly in the legs where stability and power are essential. Foods like fortified dairy, egg yolks, and mushrooms combined with sensible sun exposure help maintain optimal vitamin D levels. Leafy greens, almonds, and chia seeds support calcium intake and bone strength, forming a solid foundation for muscle attachment and function. Phytonutrients, the natural compounds found in plants, offer another layer of regenerative support. These include flavonoids, carotenoids, and polyphenols, which protect muscle tissue from damage caused by free radicals. Foods like turmeric, garlic, green tea, beets, and dark-colored fruits offer potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits. Beets in particular have been shown to improve nitric oxide production, which enhances blood flow to working muscles, especially in the legs. This increased circulation delivers more oxygen and removes metabolic waste, creating ideal conditions for muscle repair and endurance. Hydration is another overlooked aspect of muscle regeneration. Water is essential for nutrient transport, waste elimination, and cellular repair. Dehydrated muscles are more prone to cramps, fatigue, and injury. Foods with high water content, such as cucumber, melon, oranges, and celery, support hydration naturally while also delivering vitamins and minerals. When the body is well hydrated and nourished, muscle cells operate more efficiently and the likelihood of inflammation or strain is greatly reduced. Even the gut microbiome plays a role in muscle repair and leg strength. A diet rich in prebiotics and prebiotics supports a healthy gut environment, which in turn enhances nutrient absorption and reduces systemic inflammation. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi help balance gut bacteria, allowing your body to extract more benefit from every bite of food you consume. This connection between gut and muscle health is becoming increasingly clear in the scientific community, and the legs, being the largest muscle group, benefit the most from optimized digestion and nutrient utilization. What you choose to eat can either nourish or neglect the systems that keep your legs strong. Nutrient-rich foods act like signals to the body, instructing it to rebuild, recover, and regenerate tissue. They create a biochemical environment where healing becomes the default mode, where strength is maintained not just through movement, but through the intelligent design of what you put on your plate. Eliminating harmful foods and embracing circulation, boosting nutrition can restore leg power and mobility. The body has an extraordinary ability to heal, regenerate, and adapt even after years of exposure to poor dietary habits. Your legs, which are some of the most metabolically active and circulation-dependent parts of your body, respond quickly to positive nutritional changes. The strength, endurance, and flexibility of your leg muscles are all tied to the quality of your blood flow. And that blood flow is either impaired by the foods you consume every day. Removing the foods that constrict arteries, inflame tissues, and burden metabolic function is the first step toward giving your legs a chance to recover their strength. At the same time, increasing the intake of foods that promote vascular health and muscle regeneration allows your body to send a new message to your cells to rebuild, repair, restore. When harmful foods like trans fats, refined sugars, and highly processed products are eliminated from the diet, the inflammatory load on the vascular system decreases almost immediately. These foods trigger immune responses that damage the inner lining of the arteries, making them stiff and narrow, which restricts the flow of blood to the lower limbs. This restriction reduces the delivery of oxygen and leg muscles, which weakens their performance over time. When these foods are removed, inflammation begins to subside. Blood vessels start to regain flexibility. Circulation improves. With improved blood flow comes increased delivery of oxygen, glucose, amino acids, and micronutrients. all of which are essential for muscle energy and repair. This improved circulation also helps clear out waste products like lactic acid and carbon dioxide more efficiently. During physical activity, your muscles generate metabolic byproducts that must be removed in order to maintain and reduce fatigue. Poor circulation means those waste products linger longer, increasing soreness and reducing mobility. But when the arteries and capillaries are open and responsive, the cleanup process is faster. You feel lighter and more stable on your feet. Your recovery improves. You regain the ability to move through your day with less pain and more confidence. Circulation boosting foods play a crucial role in accelerating this healing process. Foods rich in nitrates such as beets, arugula, and spinach naturally increase nitric oxide levels in the blood. Nitric oxide is a molecule that signals your blood vessels to dilate, improving flow and reducing pressure. This is especially important in the legs, where gravity makes circulation more challenging. The more nitric oxide your body produces, the easier it becomes to deliver vital nutrients to your leg muscles. This promotes better muscle tone, faster recovery, and stronger endurance. Berries, dark chocolate, citrus fruits, and pomegranate are also packed with flavonoids, plant compounds that enhance endothelial function. The endothelium is the inner lining of your blood vessels, and it plays a major role in controlling blood pressure and flow. When supported with the right nutrients, this lining becomes more responsive, allowing for better circulation to your lower extremities. Even small improvements in endothelial function can lead to noticeable changes in how your legs feel and perform during daily activities. In addition to circulation-enhancing compounds, the body requires a steady supply of antioxidants to protect against oxidative stress. When blood flow is compromised, tissues in the legs are more vulnerable to oxidative damage. This damage impairs muscle regeneration and leads to chronic fatigue. Antioxidant-rich foods like leafy greens, green tea, and turmeric reduce this stress and support the body's natural repair processes. They not only preserve muscle function, but also help improve nerve communication between the brain and the legs, which is essential for coordinated movement and balance. Another key element in restoring leg strength through nutrition is the role of omega-3 fatty acids. Found in fatty fish like salmon and sardines, as well as in flax seeds and walnuts, omega-3s reduce inflammation and improve blood lipid profiles. This means less plaque buildup in the arteries and better flow to the extremities. The reduced inflammation also lowers the risk of muscle pain and stiffness, creating a more favorable environment for physical activity and muscle rebuilding. Hydration supports circulation as well. Dehydrated blood becomes thicker and moves more slowly through the vessels. Adding water-rich foods such as cucumbers, watermelon, and citrus to your diet helps maintain fluid balance. A proper hydration ensures that nutrients are transported efficiently and waste is removed promptly. This keeps your leg muscles nourished, energized, and primed for movement. The gut microbiome also influences circulation and inflammation. And a diet high in fiber and rich in prebiotic foods like garnions, bananas, and oats helps cultivate beneficial bacteria in the gut. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that reduce systemic inflammation and support vascular health. A healthier gut leads to a healthier circulatory system, which directly benefits and legs' overall mobility. The cumulative effect of these dietary shifts is a noticeable improvement in how your legs function and feel. Muscle mass begins to stabilize. Cramping and soreness diminish. Energy levels return. You walk with more ease, you stand with more balance, and you feel more grounded in your body. Every nutrient-dense meal becomes part of a larger strategy to reverse the damage caused by years of dietary neglect. The body systems start working together again. Circulation, metabolism, nerve signaling, and muscle recovery all align toward a single goal: restoring strength and vitality in your lower body.